There we go. Welcome, theme song time. I'm going to shut up. Welcome to the High Noon Rant.
Welcome to the High Noon with Pugs, Moran. The daily news from celebrities, maybe I ran.
Look at that. We are going to talk about a rant.
Get your water cooler fix.
Uh-huh.
Get your water cooler fix. Show runs on your tips. Get your water cooler.
Everybody! Okay, there we go. Anytime now, wrap it up. Welcome in to the High Noon Report, a stream that I do every day here at high noon, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, the only standard time that I adhere to. We've been doing it now for a couple of years. What is this show? You're like, what the hell is that? He's playing a theme song. I'm playing a theme song because it's one of our chat room people, Rob Barr. He's in a band called Witch Kitty, and they're really good, and they're getting some good reviews, and so I'm very proud of them. And so I'm going to start playing. Hey, as long as one of us has got a little something that they, are proud of and is happening, I'm going to contribute. I'm going to play it. I'm going to promote it. So there you go, Rob Barr, the band. I'm calling it a Witch Kitty song. I don't care what Rob says. Chat room, everybody, come on in. We do a chat room here every day. We've got the same people. It grows from time to time. Sometimes new people show up. They're usually assholes at first, but then they realize, man, this is a place where cool people are just chilling out talking about the world. And then it kind of, we don't do politics. We don't do divisive nonsense. I don't like politics. I don't like your politics. And you know what? I don't give a shit if you like my politics. My politics are my politics. I keep them to myself. It's why we have one of those drapes. However, we do other divisive things. I'm not above being divisive. I'll argue with you. I like to argue. I like to get into some subjects, some provocative notions are discussed here every day. But yeah, that's it. So it's also, you should know, just because you're like, man, this guy is just going on and on. You should know that this is a 2-hour plus, sometimes a little less than 2 hours, oftentimes more than 2 hours, but a 2-hour plus stream of consciousness, which is just me alone with my thoughts in a live hot microphone, just talking for 2 hours. No breaks, no commercials, no songs, no news, no traffic, none of that nonsense. Just me and my unfiltered thoughts about all the events that are happening in the world. Do I say awful things from time to time because I'm streaming of conscious? Come on, right? There's no filters. No, I don't, because I'm not an asshole. And that's the thing. I'm trying not to be an asshole. Sometimes I might say some things that you'll go, what? But just remember, those things are only terrible if they come from an asshole. And I'm not an asshole. And nothing that I say in an attempted comedy or a commentary on the current events, none of that should be, used to define my soul. All right. So that's what we do here. We do it in 4 quarters. That's what I call it anyway. It's a way I keep it in my head. 4 different segments we'll be enjoying today. 4 quarters. First quarter, we call it Erstwhile on This Day. That's a look back at all of the events that have shaped this day throughout history. I opine on them. We move on. We don't spend too much time on any one thing. Then we go into birthdays, people who were born on this day. And we celebrate them or we laugh at them. Whatever is, called for, it's a sliding scale. Then we go into the people who have died. And this segment I like because this is where we sit and we stand in judgment of these people, these great men and women, these people who have passed away, people of note, who passed away on this very day. We look at their life resume and we decide based upon what we understand about heaven and hell. Where'd they go? They go to heaven or hell? That's what we discuss. Those are the first three quarters of a 4-quarter experience here. The first one, Erstwhile on This Day. Second one, birthdays. Third one's people who died and where'd they go? All right. 4th quarter. This is the bulk of the show. This is the meat and potatoes, my friend. We get into all of the hot topics, current events, headlines, trends, whatever it is that people are buzzing about. We're going to touch on it. I'm going to tell you why people are talking about it. I'm going to give you my opinion on it, and then we'll move on. And again, sometimes, these things are like, that guy's a Republican. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Not make fun, but I'll report on everybody the same way. Report. What are you, a reporter now? That's my co-host, ladies and gentlemen. He goes by the moniker of Schizophrenic Me. He's the voice inside my head. He just starts talking from time to time. Everything awful that you are thinking about me right now, he has already said it in my head. So, doesn't matter. He's there. All right. What else do we need to mention today? Thank you very much, our exec producer, Peter L. Show runs on your tips, as the song mentioned. This is an attempt to do a different kind of talk radio, a talk radio that doesn't depend on, again, the color red or the color blue. Talk radio that's just fence line talk radio, the kind of shit you talk about your neighbor when you don't want to get into anything too heavy. Fun stuff. And because that is apparently not a viable way of doing broadcast entertainment in this country, we do require your tips if you do want to see this continue. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And the person who tips the day before, or the person who tips the most the day before, gets the title of producer for the next day's show. Peter is in the midst of a bit, and I'm loving the bit. The bit is that every day the Rangers play, he tips the show. He tips a small amount because he's not crazy, and I wouldn't expect him to be, but it's nice. And for that reason, and the Rangers played yesterday, and the Rangers lost. Doesn't matter. He still tipped the show. So thank you, executive producer today, Pete L. Not his first time in the producer chair. He's done this a few times. I have all the faith in the world in Peter that this show is going to go off without a hitch. Rangers last night, huh? How about that? Yeah. So what? Let me tell you something. I've been sitting here. I've been talking about the magic of this team, the Rangers. I keep using that word magic. I don't believe in magic, but I do believe in sports magic because I've seen it before. I've experienced it before. It's changed my life before. Sports magic. And I've been seeing signs of sports magic going on with this Ranger team. And I'm going to give you another example of sports magic. But they lost yesterday. Yeah, they lost. But, all right, so I'll put it to you this way. They're going to lose. It's sports magic. The team is never going to lose again. That's not how it works. They're going to lose a game. It's the Houston Astros. That's a really good team, man. That's a really good team. I would debate pound for pound. That's a better team than the Rangers. But magic is at play. So the Rangers are up 2-1 in the series, American League Championship Series. Been talking a lot about coincidences and magic and how I've been noticing them lately. And I'm just going to start calling them out because these things are interesting, and I think they happen to all of us. Last night, there was a coincidence in magic. So last night, I'm on Twitter. I'm watching the Ranger game. I got the computer open in front of me, and I'm just firing off my Ranger thoughts. A lot of just stupid stuff. Boom, home run. Dumb shit. Nothing really life-changing. And I saw Mike Reiner, the old gray wolf. The old gray wolf. He was the first guy to text it or tweet it. He tweeted, "Are we going to get no hit tonight?" And my first response was, I commented right underneath, "Are we going to get no hit tonight?" Because it was looking like, the Astros were on cruise control. Javier was crushing. Excuse me. So Mike Reiner, the legendary Hall of Fame Dallas sports icon and incredibly interesting talk host, Mike Reiner tweets, I can tell I love Mike. I love Mike. Everybody does. Everybody knows him, loves him. I mean, I don't even know him. I just know him kind of. Wonderful guy. So he tweets, "Are the Rangers gonna get no hit tonight?" And I respond, "Teams fueled by magic don't get no hit." Next batter got a base hit. No hitter was broken up. Now I know no hitters get broken up all the time, but it was weird that it happened in such a close period. Then there was that catch. I mean, there's magic. And the thing about sports magic is that even in the losses, when your teams are in the pursuit of their title, and there's magic, as I know there's magic here. Even in the losses, you're going to see these glimpses, and that's what we saw. So don't despair. There's another game tonight. Another Ranger game tonight out there in Arlington. We're going up 3-1 tonight, and then we're going to take it back to Houston. Everything's going to be. Or wait, do we have another? What is the third? Where's game 5? Houston, right? Anyway, or is it 2-3-2? I don't know what it is. I got to take a look at that. All right. All of that stuff is out of the way. Peter says, "Thank you for the magic, Pugs." It ain't my magic. It ain't my magic. I'm just blessed to have experienced this very thing in 2005 with my White Sox when we never expected it. And then just crazy things started happening, the ball bouncing our way. I have been the recipient of sports magic. as far as a fan. I've seen it. I understand it. And I'm telling you, I think I'm seeing it again. So enjoy it. And that's what I say about this. My friend goes, boy, you're really going out on a limb, huh? You're going to be embarrassed if they lose. Yeah, if I was a slave to my ego, maybe. But what? What I'm supposed to be? No, I'm going to say it again. And then we're going to move on from the sports talk. This is what sports is about. If you can't go all in these moments, if you can't go full metal meatball, then what are you even doing? The hell's wrong with you? You're a broken person. 99.9% of your fandom experiences are going to be heartbreak. That's what it's about. Very few of us are, blessed to have been New England Patriots fans over the past 25 years. Sports fandom, loving your team, is about being vulnerable. It's about allowing yourself to get fucking crushed. And even when you know you're going to get crushed, somewhere in the back of your head, you're like, this is going to end badly. It doesn't matter. Force that to the back where that shit belongs and enjoy the moment, man. Enjoy this Ranger team. Enjoy this series. If it ends and Pugs is wrong about the Magic, so what? Did we have fun? Did we have fun? Because you know what? We could all die in a car wreck tomorrow. Did we have fun today? Was this worth it? Would you trade? Now I'm getting silly. But man, don't be afraid to be wrong. Don't be afraid to go all in. Don't be afraid to go full meatball. That's what being a sports fan is about. I say, the red badge of courage of a true sports fan is a willingness to have your heart broken time and time again. And that's why grown men cry when their team wins championships. That's why. That's what this is all about, man. If you're going to be a crying bitch when the Rangers finally win the World Series, at least enjoy the ramp up. At least go with it. Don't be the cynical guy. Don't make the choice. Well, this could be fun, but I'm such a shrieking violet. I can't handle my heart being broken again. So I'm just going to be cynical about this Ranger team. Fuck you. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. You've earned it. And it's not a fluke. They're going to be good again next year. This isn't a fluke. This team was built to win, and they're winning early. So enjoy it, Rangers. All right, I'm going to be done with my Rangers rants really soon, but baseball season's almost over. And it's going to end with a Rangers World Series title over the Philadelphia Phillies. That's my prediction. All right, let's get into all the things that are happening today. Let's get the show started. It's time for Erstwhile on this day. This is where we take a look at all of the things that are happening. I could do sports talk. Just thinking of like you're doing. You know what schizophrenia just said to me in my head? He goes, you're doing way too much sports talk. You're doing way too much sports talk. You can't do sports talk. You know you can't do sports talk. I can do sports talk. Let's move on. Erstwhile on this day. These are all the events that have occurred on this day. I choose not to do sports talk. Yeah, that's what you tell yourself because you're afraid of being rejected. It's not true. Your best and oldest friend is the most powerful person in American sports radio, and you've never even asked him for a job. That's true. That's true. Because you can't do that with your best friend. You can't go to your oldest and closest, your mentor. You can't go. Anyway, we're gonna move on. It is time for Erstwhile on this day. These are all the events that have helped shape this day. And why do we do this? Because, well, we're in the moment. We are experiencing this particular episode of October the 19th. And anything that happened in the past might be a nice little coal miner's lamplight to illuminate what to expect in the coming hours. So here we go. On this day in 1789, Erstwhile on this day, John Jay, he of the Jingleheimer Schmidt clan, John Jay is sworn in as the first Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. There you go. Good for him. First one. Was he just like the only guy? Like first, like how long was he? Was he first and only? If he's or were there's like, did they have the other 12? Wait, no. 12. Oh, you're so dumb. How many Supreme Court justices do you think exist? I'm not even sure I can say justices without sounding drunk. All right. So yeah, I mean, but for that very moment when he was the only one, I bet he felt like, yeah, I am Zeus. I am American Zeus, right? And then they brought in a bunch of other people. On this day in 1994, erstwhile on this day, the United States forces land. Forces land. I thought I was reading it wrong. We landed in the Philippines. MacArthur, that whole thing. Google it. On this day in 1987, Black Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average falls by 22%, 508 points. It destroyed the economy for a decade. And then they had to invent computers and stuff in order to get the stock market back up after 1987's crash. In 1987, it went down 508 points, and it wrecked the economy. It ruined people lost jobs. It's terrible. It's Black Monday, 508 points. Dude, the stock market goes down 508 points once a week now. That's how much it has grown. It has grown exponentially. Back in 1987, what was it at? 6,000? The stock market, we're at 30,000 now. Black Monday, whatever. The cute carefree days of the cocaine-fueled 80s on Wall Street. That wasn't real money. And it's funny because they made movies and they talked about how that's the biggest money in the world. You saw Wall Street with Gordon Gekko, and now those dudes, the amount of money that Gordon Gekko had as a character in Wall Street, is he maybe a billionaire? The wealth among that class since 1987, since Black Monday, the wealth among that class has grown. They were always wealthy. They were always the wealthiest people on the block, but they were the wealthiest people on the block because they had $15 million. That's the wealthy family with $15 million. Now, that same family, they're still the wealthiest family, but they've got $15 billion now. And we bought bigger houses and more cars. All right, moving on. Black Monday. Don't believe it. Let's start that QAnon thing. Black Monday never happened. Nobody cares. On this day in 1988, the British government imposes a broadcasting ban on television and radio interviews with members of Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin is the political opposition party there in Northern Ireland and also throughout Ireland. But Sinn Féin as a political entity is most prominent in Northern Ireland. Now, Sinn Féin is a how do I do this? Because now I'm like a Palestinian because I'm Irish, and the situation between the Irish people and Sinn Féin, and not altogether different than the situation between the Lebanese people and the Israeli people. It's been a lot less awful the last 20 years or so. But look, the IRA was they were the world's number one terrorist organization for a whole bunch of years, before the Middle Eastern guys decided. It's like when the Dream Team happened. Nobody could play basketball, and then the Americans showed them how to play basketball. Now everybody's better than us in basketball, and the highest paid player in the NBA is from Yugoslavia. That's what that was like with terrorism. The Irish, they were the big players on the terrorist stream. So Sinn Féin rebranded just as some of the terror organizations, the PLO, rebranded as the Palestinian Authority. So the IRA rebranded as Sinn Féin for political purposes. It was on this day in 1987 when Sinn Féin was a legitimate elected, it ran in elections. It had members in the Northern Ireland. I don't need to go this deep into the weeds. The BBC banned them. They banned this political party from espousing their positions. And they just allowed the propaganda of the other opposition political parties to paint them in any way they wanted. This is what the BBC did. This is why we here in America are so blessed and take so wildly for granted the fact that we do have an independent media. Now, our independent media in this country, it's driven by the almighty commercial dollar. That's kind of a problem. That's not necessarily the case with the BBC. But could you imagine if there was a political party? What if all of a sudden, let's take it. The extreme. What is the extreme wings? Because we've got two parties, but there are wings. There's the MAGA party, right? Or the MAGA wing. That's real extreme. So what if the United States government just said, you know what? No one from MAGA can ever appear on any TV show or interview again. That's what they did. So we criticize our media a lot, but it could be a lot worse. It could be state controlled. Corporate controlled is bad. State controlled might actually be worse. On this day in 1988, the BBC banned Sinn Féin from appearing on all news programs. On this day in 2003, Mother Teresa is beatified by Pope JP II. Beatified means you're nominated. You're not. It's like, you'd be nominated for an Oscar, but you don't actually get the Oscar yet. But it means, hey, that you're nominated to become a saint. Mother Teresa was beatified on this day in the Catholic Church, 2003. She would, of course, become a saint. She was like a no-brainer. She was like, I don't know. I was gonna say, what was she? She was like, I was trying to think of a really good acting performance recently that was a no-brainer. Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker, I don't know. By the way, what is it with playing the Joker? I mean, if anybody ever said, hey, you want to play the Joker? I'd be like, yeah, because everybody who plays the Joker is considered a genius. When Jack Nicholson did the Joker back in 1992 or something like that, I'm old enough to remember he was a genius for that role. That role was genius. And Heath Ledger played the Joker, and it was like, he's better than Nicholson. He's the greatest Joker. And then Joaquin Phoenix actually wins an Oscar for it. Playing somebody with like a severe mental disability or the Joker, that seems to be your quickest way to critical acclaim. On this day in 2005, Saddam Hussein goes on trial in Baghdad for crimes against humanity. How'd that trial turn out? On this day in 2005, erstwhile, in 2005, Hurricane Wilma becomes the most intense Atlantic hurricane on record with a minimum hurricane numbers. You guys, it was 882 MBs. Whatever that means. I don't know. You know what? I don't remember Wilma. Which one was Wilma? I mean, Rita, Wilma. We all know Katrina. I think it's like, I know Katrina and Andrew. I think Andrew, because that was the first one. I was real little. That was like the first one I remember. So consequently, the first one that ever happened. I remember Andrew, and then I remember Katrina, and then all the rest of them. Rita, I think Rita was the one that we were in. We were in Cancun, and Rita was crashing down on us, and we had to get on a plane, and we had to race out of there before the storm hit, because all the people that didn't get on that plane, they had to stay there for like a week, living in like the hallways of this busted. The hurricane just ripped the snot out of we were the last people at that resort. It destroyed that resort. I mean, I'm sure it reopened because it's prized beachfront property. But you know what I'm saying? We were like, man, that place got destroyed. We're watching it on the news. That was Rita, I think. Hey, I don't know. Well, find out which hurricane hit like Playa del Carmen in like 2005, something like that. All right, that's going to do it for Erstwhile on this day. Now it's time for us to take a look at people who are celebrating birthdays. They say it's their birthday. We don't have the rights to play any music, so I have to sing the songs. Born on this day, he says it's his birthday, 1932. Robert Reed, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Reed, man. Robert Reed. Now, I was a young man. First of all, whoa! Hold on. Got to turn that down a little. That is way too loud. We're going to watch a little something. Let me get this pulled up for you. Boop, boop. Okay. Robert Reed's Mike Brady. He's the dad on the Brady Bunch. I'm a kid growing up. I loved the Brady Bunch. I wanted to be in that family so much. I was an only child. I didn't have a dad. My dad passed away. I had a single mom. And I'm just like, I'm watching the Brady Bunch, and I'm like, this is how you live. I'm like, they had a maid, they had Tiger, they even had cousin Oliver at the end who started showing up. It just looked like a family that was completely different than my family. And Robert Reed was the dad. And I always was like, yeah, that's what a dad needs to be like. Robert Reed is such a fascinating character. You know the story on our birthday boy, Robert Reed? Robert Reed is a classically trained Shakespearean actor with like really deep roots in the theater and really deep roots in dramatic Shakespearean productions. And then he needed to make a little money. So, he offered him, they're like, hey, you want to play this dad? And he's like, okay. And he basically got his career ruined because he was played, he wanted to be Brando. And, I guess a lot of these people do. But he ended up being Robert Reed. Anyway, the point is this. Oh, the other thing, it was revealed, did he die of AIDS? I think because it was revealed later in life that he was gay. And that was like big news for Gen X. It's like, seriously. That's one of those things, the revelation that Robert Reed was actually a gay man. And when that came out, I mean, you got to understand that that news came out at a time when the expected reaction to somebody, he's gay. The expected reaction was, "Oh, no, he's not. Oh, that would be terrible." That was the expected reaction when that came out. And I think it was after he passed that it came out. It still wasn't really, accepted. But think about that, man. I mean, in the moment, you couldn't have known because we didn't know he was gay in 1974. But as a kid, just watching him, and it's like we almost had ingrained the understanding that he turned out to be gay after we had totally accepted him as like this perfect dad. I bet you that had some effect on people. I mean, because I know I'm like, he's gay, but because when you're look, I can't speak from that time without sounding terrible by today's standards. So just try and understand it was a different time. And the people that we need to be mad at and that you need to be casting your arrows at are the people who don't try to understand or who don't recognize the times have changed. So, yeah, when Robert Reed was gay, it was like, he's gay. There were all these gay jokes because whatever. But man, that dude, we love that dude. He was Mr. Brady. And then he's gay, and all of a sudden we're supposed to be like, yeah, that guy sucks. All these fond memories I have of him. Yeah, no. So anyway, I want to show you this because, I told you I fell into a wiki hole the other day where I started watching all of these compilations of television shows from the 70s and 80s. They would put together these sizzle reels, if you will, of these are all the fall shows of 1977. And the Brady Bunch were brought back in 1976 as a variety show. And it was the Brady Bunch variety show. And I started watching and I fell into a hole on that one. I actually watched an entire episode of the Brady Bunch variety show from 1976. All right, not a whole episode. I got like 40 minutes in, but I watched way more than you would think before I realized I have way more pressing issues to deal with. So I want to show you a little bit of this. This is what they crammed down. This is how bad 70s TV was. I always say there were no rules in the 70s. There were no rules. Everything was like, hey, if we can fool the stupid people, let's do it. That's all it was. So there was no apologies for treating us like we were a bunch of idiots. And this is what they were giving us. So I want to show you this. This is the opening to the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. And we'll watch a little bit of it. We'll just see how bad TV was in the 1970s. This is what happens when you only have 3 or 4 channels to choose. I'm not kidding. It's exactly what happens. Because when there's only like 3 things, they start putting out garbage because it's like, yeah, where they gotta go? But once there's 100 channels, and somebody starts putting good, then they have to. So anyway, this is the trash that I grew up on. And I'll also point this out. We didn't know Robert Reed was gay, but we should have probably looked more closely at the way he, very theatrical in the variety show. Robert Reed he's not Mike Brady, the architect. He's more, you know what I mean? You'll see it. Here we go. Let's watch this. Enjoy. 1976, the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. All right, so what we're going to do now is, I don't know what the purpose of this dancing girls are. All right, kazoo band showing us the history of the Brady Bunch. There's Mike and Carol. Look at them, they got Mike and Carol. All right, now you got Marcia and Greg. I'm growing up on the series. Look at that, they got Marcia and Greg. Awesome. All right, we got Peter and Jen. That ain't Jan. Wait, that ain't Jan. You see what they did? They couldn't get Eve Plum. The show had only been off the air for like a week. This is like I think Brady Bunch went off the air in 74, 75. This is 76. They couldn't get Jan, Eve Plum was in demand. So they didn't even explain it. Did you see what they do? So they're showing these montages of all still shots from the series Brady Bunch. And then they get to the new Jan. And not only do they say, this is a different Jan or let us know. No, they just try and slide her in like we ain't going to notice. And then in the montage, which is supposed to be still photographs from the set of Brady Bunch, they use this new Jan as a little... Oh, watch it. It's infuriating. It's terrible. Hold on. Here, try it again. Here we go. All right, watch. It's Jan. That ain't Jan. That is not Jan. That ain't Jan. That ain't Jan, Jerry Reichel. I don't care. The 70s, they tried to slide it past Chuck Cunningham disappearing. All right, they got Cindy and Bobby. That's good. Here we go. Now we're going to see them. Come on out. What do they do? What? The new Jan is hotter than the old Jan. Sure, that was a design. You look at him. You can see it now. Like when you know he's gay and you see, you're like, he's dancing. He's getting into it. Very theatrical. I can see it. Good for him. It's his birthday. What is this? Disco baby. Why are they going? What is this? Why is there this is also over the top and nonsensical. This is cocaine fueled 1970s. This makes no sense. This was a situation comedy about a family. Look at what they're doing. Here's the other thing. They're not even, like, Florence Henderson isn't presenting as Florence Henderson. He's presenting as Carol Brady. They're all in character, except now they're lounge singers, like the Partridge Family. Doesn't track with the canon of the show. It's non-canon. What are they doing? All right, let's jump ahead in the show and see what kind of nonsense they get into. Here we go.
It's a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. That's wrong.
Doing bits.
Hey, Ditsy, they're looking at us. Looking at us? Oh, I'm gonna do why.
All right, I can't handle anymore. That's what TV was in the 1970s. So when you wonder why people like me get so excited about the endless choices of Netflix and HBO Max, it's because that's what I had. I am appreciative of the peak era of television that we have just lived through. All right, moving on. Happy birthday there. That was, whose birthday? Robert Reed. That's right. Born on this day in 1932. Born on this day in 1944. How about Peter Tosh? He's one of the Jamaican guys. Like, yeah, I know Bob Marley. I know Peter Tosh. And there's probably another one. Born on this day in 1945. Divine, remember from the John Waters films? Divine, I don't even know what Divine was. Divine is not a remember the trans actor? Divine wasn't even trans. Divine was a transvestite. It was a man who dressed as a woman. And that's how Divine explained it. It wasn't, so I don't know what. It's like, is she a hero to the modern trans community? I don't know. Or was she sort of like a comic device? Like, is she seen as something that lampooned that, right? I think Divine the person, they were I don't think they were making fun of cross-dressing. I think they were enjoying the whole thing. I think they were a natural cross-dresser. I don't know. Divine, born on this day in 1945. Born on this day in 1945, same as Divine. That makes them umbilical cousins. John Lithgow, the great John Lithgow. God, he's great. On this day in 1962, born unto this world, a man who would have his ear chomped off by Mike Tyson. Happy birthday, Evander Holyfield. Born on this day in 1966, one of two guys with this name, and I always have to stop and think which one, because they're kind of different. Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau is celebrating a birthday today. Now, which one is this? This is Swingers Jon Favreau. This is the act. This is Jon Favreau. This is Happy from the Marvel Universe. This is the Jon Favreau that, everybody likes. The other Jon Favreau is a political pundit, so you got to be careful. On this day in 1967, the world also welcomed former first daughter, Amy Carter. Amy Carter, daughter of Jimmy Carter, born on this day in 1967. Boy, they were mean to her. People were mean to her. There were no rules in the 70s. Children off limits. No, apparently only Barron Trump is off limits. Because I guess Sasha and Malia, no, they weren't. Oh, the right certainly. Well, look, I think the respectable right, I think they adhere to these things. But talk radio right guys, they were really rough on Sasha and Malia. Really rough on Chelsea Clinton. Remember, she's ugly. People made fun of her. David Letterman had to apologize for jokes about that. Jay Leno did the same thing. But Amy Carter, man, they were mean to Amy Carter. Amy Carter was a little girl, and they were like, "Ah, she's so ugly." Or you know what? Maybe that was just the adults in my family. I don't know. It's all a blur. Born on this day in 1967, Amy Carter. Born on this day in 1969, happy birthday to one of the great satirists of our time. I mentioned him in a shout out the other day when talking about Mike Judge on his birthday. Today is Trey Parker's birthday. Trey Parker of Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Of course, the creators of South Park, Basketball, Idiocracy. I mean, wait. Did I just conflate Mike Judge with Mike Judge Idiocracy? I think Mike Judge is Idiocracy, isn't he? Why do I think that? Because it's got a basketball vibe to it. I don't know. Whatever. Trey Parker's great. Happy birthday, Trey Parker. I'm streaming. Sometimes I get them wrong. Born on this day in 1982, Jillian Jacobs. I love Jillian. Britta from Community. Jillian Jacobs is fun. She's in a lot of stuff now. She's getting a lot of work. She's a real enjoyable actress. She's good. I hope that her career continues to grow. Jillian Jacobs. Britta from Community, born on this day in 1982. All right, that's going to do it. Those are the people celebrating birthdays. Let's roll right through. How about dead people? Let's sit in judgment. We like to do this. These other people who've died. Let's talk about their life resume and decide, are they in heaven or hell? First and foremost, dead on this day in 1897, George Pullman. George Pullman, I'm going to preemptively put him straight into hell. George Pullman is the you know the crooked banker guy on the Monopoly board. Yeah, okay, that's not George Pullman. I just realized that's the other guy. Never mind. Here's the point. George Pullman was a really bad dude. He was a bad guy, man. He exploited and ruined people, and he was into who was George Pullman? George Pullman was, for a period of time in this country, the richest and one of the most powerful people alive, because George Pullman invented the luxury railroad car. Right? Like, how does that become a thing? Well, railroading became a thing and people started moving about, and, rich people were like, it takes 2 weeks to get to Ohio, and they didn't like being uncomfortable. So George Pullman started a company, the Pullman Cart Company, where he would make basically cars for train travel that were like, gorgeous hotel rooms. And whenever you see depictions of like fancy train travel from like the 1930s or whatever, or 20s, even before that, in movies or wherever you see it, whenever you see that depiction, they're always drinking in a bar car and they've got velvet paintings on the wall and, chandeliers, that thing. That was Pullman. Pullman did that. And he cornered the market on it, and he became incredibly wealthy and incredibly powerful because, remember, that's how everybody traveled. He basically owned, imagine if only one airline had nice planes. Okay, think about that. That's basically what Pullman did. If today there was only, all the airplanes were kind of garbage and they sucked, and it was all like, sit where you want, and, just throw the garbage from the previous flight in the aisle. What if all airlines were like that except one? One was nice. That's who George Pullman was. And what he did was he built his empire on the south side of Chicago. He incorporated a large portion of land that they called Pullman. And that's now an entire town, an entire neighborhood, an entire massive chunk of the south side of Chicago, the Pullman district. And here's what he did. He decided that his company was growing exponentially. He didn't want to pay his people. He needed to hire more people, but he looked at his bottom line on what he was paying people, and he was like, I need to hire more people, but I don't need to pay more people. So he came up with an idea, and what he did was he built his own city, the city of Pullman. Anybody who worked for him, they lived rent-free in a house that he built for them in Pullman. These houses still stand. They're a National Historic District. It's, quite a thing to actually see in the middle of the south side of Chicago today. You go back and you see this thing from like the 1890s, and you're like, my God, the dude started a factory, started a company, employed a whole bunch of people, and then basically, if you wanted the job, if you wanted to work at this really good company and have this career, you had to live in his neighborhood in a house that he owned, oversleep a couple of times, your family's homeless. Then there was the situation with pay, where he decided that he was going to cut all of his workers' wages in half, and it was cool because he would just open stores inside this like gated 1890 Pullman city. He would just open stores, and they could all buy stuff at the store, and then, it'll just come out of their paycheck. So they didn't have freedom of choice to buy anything. He set the prices on everything from lettuce. I mean, it was insane. So eventually, something terrible ended up happening. Hold on, guys. I need to take this. We're going to go on a break for a second. Be right back. As I was saying, George Pullman was a terrible human being, and he is going to hell. Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. No, that was E. E was needing to do something at the. I do this show, for those of you who don't understand. I do this show from the One Percenter compound, which is a beautiful compound here in Highland Park, Texas. I am in the back in a house, a guest house that we converted into a studio. It has bedrooms, and I live here. I live here in the back guest house, Cato Kalin style. The owner of the property, our good friend E, who joins us from time to time, not here, but on Radio Misfits, he was trying to get into the front house. He couldn't get into the front of his house, so I had to go help him. So, I mean, it is his house. So I do apologize for that little delay here in the show, but let's get back into it. Okay, people who are dead. Seriously, though, George Pullman is a piece of shit. He destroyed a lot of, he tried to get away with so much nonsense. George Pullman, he's in hell. All right, let's go. Who else? Virgil Earp. Isn't he the brother of Wyatt Earp? He's a gunfighter, right? He's got to be in hell, one would think. Dead on this day in 1905, Virgil Earp. Dead on this day in 2008, Richard Blackwell. Who's Richard Blackwell? Do you guys from the 80s, like me, if you're from the 80s or even the 90s, I guess he was still kind of doing it there. Do you remember Mr. Blackwell? Do you remember Mr. Blackwell's best and worst dressed list? I mean, Joan Rivers and Melissa Rivers kind of heisted the whole concept, but for 30 years, for I would say 70 through the year 2000, it was a news story. It was a PR thing. It was people desperately wanted to be on Mr. Blackwell's 10 best. That's him. He died. He's a dick. He was mean to a lot of people. He should go straight to hell, and I'm sure that he did. Mr. Blackwell, dead on this day in 2008. Dead on this day in 2010. Tom Bosley. I have trouble with Tom Bosley. Here's the trouble that I have with him. Tom Bosley is the actor. Tom Bosley is the actor who played. This is what I have to do in my head whenever confronted with the name Tom Bosley. Tom Bosley is the actor. Tom Bosley, the actor, played Howard Cunningham on Happy Days. Tom Bosley is not Bosley from Charlie's Angels. I always get those actors confused. I always think because Tom Bosley, who played Howard Cunningham, and Bosley, the guy who played Bosley on Charlie's Angels, they're like the same person to my 7-year-old eyes. Heavy, dumpy, middle-aged white guys who look like, all my friends' dads or whatever. So there you go. Heaven. He's absolutely in heaven. Mr. Cunningham. Mr. Cunningham. Mr. Cunningham. Mr. Cunningham. No, wait, that's Mr. Cotter. Mr. Cunningham, he's in heaven. Damn right he is. Dead on this day in 2016. Here's one I'm going to stretch out a little bit on because I love this guy. I actually had the opportunity to meet this man. I've actually met this man a couple of times, and it was always very cool because the first time it's one of these characters. Sometimes when you're young and dumb and ignorant and don't know what's what, you might have occasion to cross paths with somebody who deserves your respect. And you're too young and dumb to understand who this person is because you haven't lived a life where you've had experiences and heard things and been told tell of tale about the accomplishments and the shit that people are responsible for. Well, that's how I feel with this guy. Because I met this guy a couple of times when I was just a dumb little rube, didn't know anything. He was just a guest. Then I started to learn about him, just by happenstance, just by living life, by being older, by introducing myself to new things and liking new things. I decided, I'm like, wow, Jesus, I actually know this guy, right? You start learning about him. You're like, geez, this guy is a thing. So I'm putting this guy preemptively into heaven because he's badass. Although there's probably a lot of black blues musicians who don't want me putting this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, it was on this day in 2016 that the great Phil Chess passed away. Phil Chess of Chess Records, Czech American record, Rolling Stones. All right. So who is Chess Records? Chess Records is probably one of the most important. There are a couple of record labels back in the early days of rock and roll and all of that are incredibly important. Of course, you get Sun. Everybody talks about Sun down there in Memphis, Sam Phillips' place. Son had Elvis, right? Son had Jerry Lee, all of that stuff. But up in Chicago on the South Side, there was Chess Records, and Chess Records had Chuck Berry, and Chess Records had Fats Domino, and it was more R&B, but it was still that early groovy rock. Chess Records would also become, once pop rock music became a thing and the major labels began, not so much worrying about race records anymore, that's when Chess Records had to do a bit of a direction changed. So they went away from trying to be just, pop music and, having the biggest hit in the land to really concentrating on blues and becoming the most important blues label, I think, in the history of America. I mean, if you like electric blues, everybody, what is their roster? Well, just name the Hall of Fame, name the Mount Rushmore of American blues musicians of the past 60 years, and they were all on Chess Records. You're talking about Howlin' Wolf, you're talking about Muddy Waters, you're talking about Buddy Guy, you're talking about B.B. King, you're talking about Lil Junior, you're talking about Junior Wells, you're talking about every major cool-ass blues musician. And there was this little Czechoslovakian dude, this little white Czechoslovakian business guy who recorded them all and created rock and roll. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to ramp into. Phil Chess is as responsible for the popularity of what we now know as rock and roll music as anyone else, and the man deserves our respect, and he's in heaven. Phil Chess, dead on this day in 2016. Google him. Yeah, Peter. Stax, great record label as well. Stax is another one of those that you include. I wouldn't include Motown because Motown came about. Well, maybe you do include Motown. But I always think of Motown as being more like late 60s. And when I think of like, Stax and Chess and Son, I think of like late 50s or before British invasion, just before that whole thing took off. And when I think of Motown, I think of as like their emergence was at the same time as the British invasion. Like there was all these English groups, but then there were these black groups from Detroit that was sort of the counterbalance to that. Anyway, very interesting stuff. There's a terrific new document. I don't know if it's new. I know that I discovered it only about a month ago or so, and I watched it. It's called "It Came from Chicago," and it's the story of like the Chicago blues scene and all the people that I just mentioned. But it delves deep into Phil Chess as well and Chess Records. All right, that's gonna do it. Those are the people who have died. Those are the people who have died. It is time now for us to do. It's time now for us to do, what we normally do on this show, which is try and give you a rundown of all the things that are happening in the world today. Hot topics, current events, trends, I don't have to waste my time on that. Hold on, I need a drink. I need a drink of coffee. There we go. All right, so I like to put a little bit of a bumper or buffer? Both work in that case. Don't they? Bumper and buffer. I think both work. Speaking of bumpers and buffers, man, I've been meaning to mention this. I meant to talk about it the other day. Can I just take a moment and just talk about a really good, before we get into all of the dark and shitty things that we have to talk about in the world today that's happening, can I just talk about a nice experience that I had? A nice experience. This was, and I didn't think it was gonna be. Oh my God. My middle-aged, outraged white man was coming out. It was about to come out. And it didn't because I was shocked at the response from this total stranger that I met out in the wild. I'm out there in the wild, just like a paper bag in a Kroger parking lot, just blowing in the wind. That's what I was doing. And I came across this person and I thought, here we go. This is when I die. Now I thought, don't make a scene. I thought that a scene was about to be made. So here's what happened. And I won't go deep in the weeds and all this, but so my car, the car that I drive around in and the license that I use, that I drive around in, they're still out of state. They're still Illinois. I don't own property here or anything. Yeah, I've been here a couple of years. But I'm just visiting, right? I still have. Here's the thing. I don't want to do anything with my driver's license until like it's about to expire. I still got like another year on my Illinois driver's license. I got a brand new driver's license like 2 weeks before moving down here. So anyway, so I'm stuck with it. And so I still the cars, I just keep re-registering it and all that because I don't have a permanent address here. I don't know what this is all about. I mean, I do. I don't mean to be fatalistic because, things are good. Don't get it twisted. But that's the long and the short of it. So in the state of Illinois, we have to have these things called emissions tests, where every year, in order to get your license plates renewed, you have to go to a place, and they stick a hose under your car and a laptop on the hood, and then they say, "Here you go," and you go home. And then you take the receipt they give you, and when you get your new license plates, they give you a new sticker for that year for the back of your license plates. Now, I know this is wildly different than anything we're used to here in Texas, because Texas doesn't do license plate stickers. They don't do any of this stuff. Texas also doesn't do the ease of the Illinois emissions test. In Illinois, the emissions test is 100% free. There are emissions testing places that are run by the state. They're off the expressways. You get a note in the mail that says you have this amount of time to go to an emissions place. You pull into the emissions place, you sit in your car, you spend a good 30 seconds, and they go, "You passed, here you go," boom, and you're done with your day. No money is exchanged, no nothing. It is super easy. But here in Texas, it's like, nah, independent operators can do it, and they can charge whatever they want, and they can say you need this in order to. Because here's the difference. In Illinois, it's just an emissions test, which, I thought, I came from Illinois. I'm like a bunch of stupid liberals up there, like with their dumb emissions test. What are they making us do this for? I bet in the great state of Texas and places like that, places people are allowed to be free and pursue liberty, I bet they don't have this kind of nonsense. No, you people have it 100 times worse. You guys have a safety inspection. You guys, why? Because they can upcharge for it. Because they can charge you more for your, so what is it, $50 a year or something like that in this state? You guys would know better than me, because I haven't done it in probably 10 years or something. But it's like all of these things that they send you to an independent contractor. They send you to the local garage who is authorized by the state to do the emissions test, and they got all the cool equipment and all that stuff. But they also fix your brakes and sell tires and all that stuff. So when they get you in there, and they tell you, "Hey, I just want to let you know you're going to fail this test unless you get these new plugs." They upcharge you. This is all a scam for these companies. Anyway, that's how I see it. That's why I like it, where it's just like, okay, nobody's making any money off this. This is just a taxpayer thing to make the air clean. We just pull off. Illinois does it better. Stupid, dumb, awful, liberal Illinois, and they are. Stupid, dumb, awful, liberal Illinois, who makes all kinds of stupid decisions. They actually did that one better than Texas, because Texas is just, you got to jump through way more hoops. Now, again, remember, I'm here in Texas. I'm just visiting. I'm just working down here. And oh my God, I realized that my car needs an emissions test. Is there any chance that I could get this done here? And I know there is, because I did it last time. I'm like, so I'm going to need to just get my emissions test for the state of Illinois, but I'm going to need to get it done here in Texas. Any problem with that? So I go to this place, Inwood Motors, deal with my guy, Sancho. I pull in. Sancho's like, I explain it exactly like that. I'm like, "Hey, get down." I go, "Hey." I go, "Yeah, this car," and I'm pointing to the plates. I'm like, "See that?" I go, "Illinois, out of state. I'm just here visiting. I need to get an emissions test. Can I just do that? Can you just give me the emissions test?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem, my friend." Okay, so I pull it in. I start looking at the pricing, right? I'm like, now it's supposed to just cost me $18. That's it. I just need the emissions test. That's all I'm there for. But, with all the other things, they add them on, like all of these safety inspections, all this. Price list went up to like $70 or something. I don't know. It was crazy. So I reminded him in the middle of it. I go, "Remember, man," I go, "I'm not into all this Texas stuff. I don't know what you guys are doing here. Ha, ha, ha. I just need the emissions test. I just need the results from that." So he does it. He comes in. He's like, "All good, my friend." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Car's in great shape. Of course it's all good." And he puts the thing down. He hands me my keys. He hands the receipt and the test results, basically, that say that I passed. He hands them to me. I put them in my pocket, and I got the keys now. I put my keys in the pocket. I pull out my debit card, and he goes, 7561 or whatever it was. And I go, "What?" I go, 75? I go, "It's Sancho, my man, it's $18. See, now this is where, remember I said I was out in the wild, and I encountered somebody, and it was almost one of those outraged, middle-aged white man moments. "I demand to see your manager." It almost got there, but it didn't. Because Sancho, as it turns out, is not a member of the asshole class. Sancho was totally understanding. Sancho, in fact, here's what I said to Sancho. I go, "Hey, man," I go, "it's supposed to be 20. And I told him what it was supposed to be. I go, "What's this?" He goes, "That's what it costs." He's broken English. He's a Mexican dude. Really, really, no problems from him, but communication is a little bit difficult. And I'm like, "Hey," and I'm chalking it up to like this language barrier. And he looks at it, and I go, "Hey, man, This is all I asked for. This is all I'm paying for. And he goes, and he starts pointing at all these other things. And I go, come on, man. I didn't ask for that. Right. And I look at him really seriously. This dude, instead of going, well, you know that I'm calling the police, which is the way it could have gone in 100 other things. And then I'm like, no, fuck you. And he's like, nah. And I've got my keys and I've got the receipt. I could just jump in my car and drive away. I'm legal. He's going to call the police. Now we got to think. No, man. This dude went, here was his response when I pointed that out. He went, oh, you did. I'm sorry. And then he looked at me and he goes, well, you got the full inspection. $20. I was like, all right. And that was a nice experience. And I've been meaning to talk about that because we take those moments for granted. Yeah, we run into an asshole on the road and it stays with us for like a week. But this was good. I was like, I got in my car and I went, holy shit, I just had a pleasant exchange, pleasant but complicated. I mean, it could have been problematic. A pleasant and complicated exchange with a total stranger that ended with us both smiling and saying thank you to one another. Not a problem. And I know what you're thinking. No, he was trying to upcharge you and you didn't fall for it. No, I don't think that was it. I really think that he made the mistake. And instead of doubling down and not admitting that he made the mistake because of ego, which is what 90% of people do. Well, I don't know. It wasn't my fault. That is what. No, he admitted. He saw he made a mistake, admitted it right away and was like embarrassed. And I was cool about it. And now we're friends. So let me tell you, you guys need anything done, go see Sancho over there at Inwood Motors. It's like at Inwood and Harry Hines. That dude is awesome. All right, now let's move into all the things that are happening today. That was a nice story because now we got to talk about garbage, horrible stuff. Tonight, Biden's going to make a speech. He's going to do the whole. Is it from the Oval Office tonight? I think 7:00. He's going to. Here's what he's going to say. He's going to say, I just got back. He made it. Okay, good. Look, I knew he was going to make it, but still, bad. He shouldn't have gone. It was very performative, very politically motivated. So he's going to sit in the Oval Office and he's going to tell us today about his trip over there. He's going to talk about the Palestinian people and the Israelis. He's going to pledge the United States unwavering support to the government of Israel as they try and make sense of this crazy, horrible world. I mean, that's basically what the tenor is going to be. But he's also going to try and have it both ways. He's going to get out there and he's going to make a large part of his speech a conversation about the difference between terrorists and the Palestinian people. And I think that's important. I think that's real important. And I don't think that's with all due respect, that's not something Trump could do. That's not, I mean, we are at the point right now where we are trying to tamp down something that looks like it could be really bad over there. And maybe there are those of you out here right now in the chat room, those among us who actually want something really bad to happen over there. I think that's a real thing. I think there are people who are rooting for the entire Middle East to go up in flames. I'm rooting for the end of these terrorist groups. I'm rooting for the civilized nations of the world to finally put an end to that. But not the cultures and cities and, civilizations of the people who are there. You want to be like a Bedouin in the middle of the desert in Afghanistan with camels and shit. That's fine. Whatever. Just don't blow up an airplane. You can do whatever you want. So I think that's I don't think that is going to be a large part of Biden's speech tonight about how, come on, folks, come on, I'm tired of this malarkey, whatever he's going to do, that folksy sort of way he talks. Biden's speech tonight from the Oval Office, 7:00. All right, so here's some bad news. Israeli Defense Forces have announced that the bodies of 2 missing Americans have been found. We got 2 dead Americans here, according to the Israeli Defense Forces. 80-year-old Carmela Dan and 13-year-old Noya Dan were kidnapped from their kibbutz on Saturday, the Saturday 2 weeks ago during the invasion. Kidnapped from their kibbutz, and their bodies have been found and positively identified. So there you have it. There are 2 Americans. They both had dual citizenship. There are Jewish Americans who, are very involved in the settling of their homeland and all that stuff. That's what they were, and they're dead. So, never mind. Moving on. All right. I almost see this I do the show as a stream of consciousness. Remember, I just blah, 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 blah. And I almost just said something I think I regretted before I even formed it. Before I even said it, I was like, Why would you say something like that? Because you think it might be funny? That's just fucking awful. And I stopped myself. All right, let's see here. Sydney Powell, my neighbor. She lives like right down the block. Sydney Powell. You know her, crazy lady. Batshit crazy lady. No idea how she, made a name for herself. Actually, I don't even know that she did make a name for herself. She just became famous as like the batshit crazy lawyer who said batshit crazy things. She lives down the block from me. Sydney Powell, she pled guilty. She's one of the 19 defendants. She's one of the 19 defendants in the Georgia election tampering case down there. Ex-Trump lawyer Sydney Powell pleads guilty in Georgia election interference case. Powell was one of 19 defendants named in District Attorney Fani Willis's indictment, which also charged the former president. Let's see what it says here. Former president attorney Sydney Powell pled guilty Thursday. That's exactly what I just said. It's the newspaper saying the same thing twice. Powell pled guilty to 6 misdemeanor counts of conspiracy to commit election interference in Fulton County Superior Court as part of a deal reached with prosecutors. Powell agreed to serve 6 years of probation and pay a $6,000 fine and $2,700 in restitution to the state of Georgia. She has also agreed to submit an apology letter to the citizens of Georgia. Oh, that's good. An apology letter to the citizens of Georgia and to testify at related court proceedings. An apology? An apology letter to the people of Georgia? What is that? What is that for? Like, is somebody going to go door to door and read it on the doorstep of everybody? And how is there? Are we bringing back town criers? What is a letter? Make a video. We need you to make a video, and we need you to go on all the local news stations and apologize. A letter. What? I don't even know what that means. Powell agreed to serve the 6-year probation and $6,000 fine. Powell, who acted as one of Trump's lawyers after the 2020 election lost to Joe Biden, she was charged with racketeering, conspiracy to commit election fraud, conspiracy to commit computer theft, trespassing, and invasion of privacy, as well as conspiracy to defraud the state. She had originally pled not guilty and had agreed to a $100,000 bond. Reached for comment Thursday, an attorney for Chesbrough, who like Powell had served as a lawyer for Kenneth Chesbrough, who like Powell had served as a lawyer for Trump during the effort to overturn the election, said that he had no immediate reaction to Powell pleading guilty. Still need to process, the attorney said. All right, there you go. I don't know what that means. I just know she's a crazy lady. She's hysterical. Speaker mess. We got us a speaker mess. And by that, I mean, we got no Speaker of the House there in the United States, House of Representatives. Jim Jordan took a run at it twice yesterday, and twice things did not go well. As a matter of fact, the opposite of progress. The second vote was even worse than the first, and the third is believed to be just downright embarrassing for him. So he was thought that was going to try and push a third vote today on the floor. He decided not to. Just got back to him like, dude, you've lost 10 since last night. Okay, you're going in the wrong direction. So Jim Jordan's not going to be it. Jim Jordan had previously promised last night to fight to the end. I mean, McCarthy did what? 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, something like that. 19 votes in Congress before he finally got through. So Jordan was like, I'm going to do that too. And then, they got to him last night and they're like, dude, you are going way in the wrong. He did 19 votes, McCarthy did, because every round he got a little better. You're getting worse, Jim. So he's out. So now we got this Patrick McHenry elf. This little guy that's been sitting back there. He's got the bow tie. He's like, I don't know what his deal is. Nobody's ever seen him before. He is what I tell you. I think maybe he's part of the legislative branch of the Republican caucus. Remember, I told you we've got two types of politicians in this country. We've got legislators. These are the ones you don't know. These are the hundreds of congressmen who you've never heard of because they do dork shit. And then there's, of course, the messaging wing. And these are the ones you know. This is why you know who the representative from Georgia's 5th is. It's why you know that's Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she's a part of the messaging crew. She didn't write laws. Matt Gaetz, same thing. You live in Portland, Oregon. You don't know who your congressman is, but you know Matt Gaetz in Alexandria. See, these are the messaging people. So Patrick McHenry is a bit more the legislative side. They think that for that reason alone, he may be the guy who can be the compromise candidate. But here's the thing, they won't even admit that they want to make it temporary. So here's the current situation that's happening. And I don't have TV in front of me, so I don't know what has happened in the last hour. But here's, as I was getting ready to do the show, here's what I understood to be the facts. There was a pitch, and I'm going to say pitch because it's not official, just, hubbub, people talking in the hallway around the water cooler. There was a pitch that they would need to create a special law. Okay, so now these guys who can't elect a speaker are talking about a special law being created. The special law would enable Patrick McHenry, who is the Speaker Pro Tem. The special law would enable him to be Speaker Pro Tem for a long time, until never giving him the title of actual Speaker, where he could probably make it. Like if they wanted to run this guy, he might be a compromise guy. Who knows? We don't know. But the Republicans don't even want to do that. The Republicans are just looking for something to put their finger in the dike, right? And so they're like, well, how about this guy? But here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure it's temporary. Now, in order for this to get passed, the Democrats have to agree to it. So now the Democrats were meeting all morning, and, someone comes in and goes to all the Democrats in Congress. They're like, hey, so the Republicans, they want to make a special law so they can make that little magic elf guy the temporary Speaker of the House and not be under any pressure to make it permanent. We want to do that law. So that's what the Democrats were considering. I mean, why are they giving the Democrats so much power over it? I mean, the whole point of it, because it looks like it. Oh, God, it's so funny. It's like the Democrats are like, what? You want to give us ultimate power over what your next move is? Have at it. Let's see where this goes. Because you Republicans have been so easy to deal with. It's a mess. These people are all idiots. Nothing's going to get fixed, and we're all going to die in a fiery hailstorm of flaming regret. All right, speaker mess. That's what's going on there. The narrative that's going around here. I wanted to show you this. This is, no, never mind. Too political. I don't want to go in there. Forget about it. It was a funny video. It's a funny video of some Republican congressman who we don't know going on TV and going, well, who we have to blame for this whole no speaker mess? The Democrats. The Democrats were in such chaos. Like in the Breonna Keeler, from CNN, and she's like, wait, what? Wait, they're in chaos? They're the ones, the Democrats, the minority party, the party not even remotely responsible for choosing the Speaker of the House. The minority party, you're saying it's their fault. It's their fault. I mean, it's just such obfuscation of what we all know. It's gaslighting. It's like gaslighting. And there are dumb people out there hearing that and then going out in public and saying it so that total strangers can hear them saying, it's the Democrats' fault. They're the ones there. Nobody has shame. Nobody cares about being embarrassed. Fucking Democrats are pieces of shit, but they ain't responsible for any of this. This is an internal Republican problem. If they had their shit together, the minority party has no say in anything. But because they can't get their shit together, the Democrats have a lot of say. And thus it's their fault. Isn't that the he made me do that kind of? It's just it's so absurd. It's so silly, these people. Anyway, I was going to show that video, but we don't want to show the video. Rashida Tlaib. Oh, God, this broad. Okay, Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib is just, look, here's what you need to understand about her, okay? I don't particularly like her. But she represents people in a culture. What do you mean that's racist? No, fuck you. No, you don't know the congressional district that she represents. She represents the highest concentration of Arab and Muslim Americans in the country. Southeastern Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan, Flint, Michigan. That entire area of Michigan is, I shit you not, nothing but people from the Middle East. It is nothing but Middle Eastern immigrants. So that's where she comes from. She can say whatever the hell she wants. And it doesn't matter, you dude in Ohio or you old lady in Kansas. Oh, you hate her. And you're going to go on Fox News and you're going to be like, she needs to go away. But guess who votes for her? America's largest Muslim Islam population. That's her district. It's her district. It's an interesting story, too, because a lot of people have asked, why is Michigan, and in particular, Southeast Michigan, why are there so many Palestinians? Specifically, it's people from Palestine, people from Syria, people from Iran, and people from Iraq. Now there's people from other parts of the Middle East that are there as well, but those are the four big communities that immigrated. When they're coming to America, they're like, let's go to New York and make it big. Let's go. No, these people are like, let's go to Dearborn, Michigan. And that's where they went. And it's a huge. Now, how did that happen? Well, Pugs, why would that be? Why would all of these Middle Eastern people immigrate? Choose Michigan, Southeastern Michigan. Well, here's why. Because at some point, I think it was 1910s or something. You can Google this too. You can just Google, hey, Google, why are there so many Arabs in Southeastern Michigan? Apparently Henry Ford, Ford Motor Company, Henry Ford met a young Yemeni sailor when he was, I don't know, whatever it was. And he was so impressed with this young Yemeni sailor, and I guess he hired him to do something. And he was so impressed with it that he told that Yemeni sailor, hey, I want to hire 100 people like you. And that Yemeni sailor spread the word to all of the people, and they all emigrated to the United States. And when they did, they went to where the Ford factory was because Henry Ford liked Middle Eastern workers. I know that sounds crazy. It's like, that doesn't make sense. I thought he was a racist. Well, here's the other thing. Up until very recently, Arabs in this country were classified the U.S. Census as white people. So Henry Ford probably thought of them as white people. He probably, because Henry Ford was a racist. But that's why. They all came for automotive jobs because it was known in the Middle East that Henry Ford was very friendly towards Arab communities and Arab culture. So back to Rashida Tlaib. That's why she's going around saying all kinds of stuff. She's calling us the United States. She's a member of the United States Congress, and she's out there talking about how we're complicit in all of this that's happening. Now, this is such bullshit. And I get angry, and I've been talking about this since this whole thing started. The United States of America very well may be complicit in the overall existential view of what's been happening in the Middle East over the course of the last 100 years. Let's keep it at least moderately modern, okay? 100 years. We might be complicit in that. But my God, let's stop talking about it. Let's stop blurring the lines of what we're talking about. We were talking about the events of the last 2 weeks. We are talking about reacting to what Hamas did. We are starting with what Hamas did, and we'll go from there. So she's getting up there, and because she's speaking and she's stumping to Arab American groups and all of that, and she has no fear. You people are like, we're going to run somebody again. Hope she likes getting. You're not going to primary Rashida Tlaib. She's wildly popular in the largest Arab American community in the country. So what are you going to do? I can't take this stuff. I can't. She's just so overtly anti-American. And I guess that's okay. And I'm not calling for her to be arrested. I'm not telling her she needs to shut up with that. No, it's America. She can say whatever she wants, but I get to say what I feel about her too. And I think she sucks. She sucks. She's very anti-American. And I'm not one of these, look, I'm not a MAGA guy. I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not far-right patriot. None of my icon badges on my social medias have a flag or an eagle. None of that bullshit. But I love my country. And I don't think she does. I think that she is a very dangerous person. She's as dangerous to me as Matt Gaetz is. She's as dangerous to me as the ignorance of a Lauren Boebert is. Because she ain't ignorant. That's the other thing. Rashida Tlaib ain't ignorant. She's incredibly smart. A lawyer, she's got multiple degrees. She worked her way through the Michigan legislature, and she did some. Look, you can pull up her Wikipedia page. She's a pretty accomplished woman. She's not an idiot. And unlike Matt Gaetz, she wasn't a legacy, right? Her daddy was an immigrant who barely spoke English. Matt Gaetz's daddy owned half the car dealerships in South Florida, and they funded his Congress campaign. That's that guy. That's not her. So give her a little bit of respect there, but she's a bad person. She's a bad person. Let's look, and it's fine. Let her stay there. Bad people can stay in Congress, confined to their district for as long as they want. They better not ever get appointed to any sort of secretarial position. They better not ever try and run for anything federally. Because I am telling you, but she's safe. So for all your crowing about how terrible Rashida Tlaib is and the things that she's saying and the anti-American, the anti-Israeli, and there's a lot of anti-Israeli things that can be said with some credibility. But not now, not about this. And don't act like you're all freaked out over a hospital. If you're going to be freaked out over the hospital, be as freaked out as, the dead 80-year-old American woman that was found today. Be as freaked out about that because it's all terrible. And there is no one person that is taking these sides. We're seeing this too. This is the other thing. I wanted to have this conversation with James. But yesterday, this is a pretty heavy conversation. And yesterday we had a drag. There was some kind of weird delay going on between us that was making this really hard to vibe. And we got into some heavy topics anyway. But this both sides isms that we're seeing, where in the early days of this, here's how I saw it. Let me use CNN because as I said, for these kinds of things, I don't want the political bullshit of an MSNBC or of a Fox News. And CNN is a global news gatherer. It's what they are. Yes, when there's not something big globally happening, yeah, they're nonsense, stupid politics just like the rest. But if a plane crashes in Africa, CNN is going to have the people on the ground there. They are global. Their resources, their reach, everything. So with this Israeli thing, it made sense to me that I would watch the international coverage of CNN. In the very beginning, it was clear it was all about this is a tragedy that occurred against the Israeli people by evil terrorists. That was the first 12 hours. And 24 to 36 hours later, then we started dipping our toe in the both sidesism. That's when it started to be, the Palestinian people and the idea of Hamas became conflated for weirdly partisan purposes on CNN and on other news shows. Don't conflate Hamas and terrorists with the people of Palestine any more than you would conflate the Ku Klux Klan with the people of Georgia. It's the same thing. I mean, I don't know to what degree we're talking numbers, but look, just understand that not everybody is an evil monster terrorist. And this war is about eradicating this particular terror group. But somebody else is just going to pop up in its absence. Good. Looking forward to meeting them. Hope they do. That's what this is. This is a war. Handshakes. Speeches, flowery speeches about, a one-state solution where everybody's living side by side. That's not going to, there needs to be some kind of physical coming to heel by one side or the other. And in that equation, I know what side I want brought to heel, and it's Hamas. So both sidesism, please. Well, that there are Palestinian citizens, there are Palestinian Americans who are watching this, and we want to make sure that they're not offended. Why would they be offended if they don't agree with Hamas? They should be cheering. Palestinian Americans should be cheering this on because it means that they're not a part of Hamas. The problem for them is that there's too many of us who just think they're all one and the same. So start separating yourself. Start making it absolutely clear that you are not them and that there is a different thing, because although I understand it, we're talking about the court of public opinion in this country and globally around the world. And all we're seeing now are from the capitals of the Arab world, thousands of people in town squares screaming about kill the USA and death to Jews. So American Palestinians, come on, man. Nobody wants you out of here. You have a right to be here. You have a right to be here just like my French friends and my, Yugoslavian friends. Nobody's saying that. But man, distance yourself. Make sure it's clear. Well, Pugs, why should they have to do that? Well, they shouldn't have to do that. That's the real torture of this era that we're living in. They should never have to do that. But these are desperate times, so we've got to do different things. Sarah Silverman, switching gears a little bit. Sarah Silverman is trending today because she's taking some hits. Here's what she did. Let's read this Sarah Silverman thing. I know. When I hear Sarah Silverman, I'm always like, first of all, let me establish, find her attractive. We've always found her attractive. Find her very funny. Like her. I do. I like her. I like Sarah Silverman. However, with all of that said, every time I see Sarah Silverman trending for something, I go, oh God, what did this idiot say now? Because, remember, I think she's beautiful. I think she's wildly talented and funny, and I am a fan. Also, every time I see that she's trending, oh God, she's an idiot. What'd she do? I don't know. I can't explain it. Again, people are complicated. So let me read you this Sarah Silverman story. Isn't that funny too? Me just ranting about both sidesism and me trying to do both sidesism with Sarah Silverman. Sarah Silverman's being slammed on social media, gang, for her Instagram post about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Of course. Oh, shut up about this. And unless you guys look, I don't mean shut up about this like you don't have a right to an opinion. No, I mean shut up about this because you just know people are going to hammer you. You want that headache? I mean, look, if you're fine with the headache, then go ahead. Don't shut up about it. But don't say something. Sarah Silverman, don't tweet about Palestine and Israel and then be shocked when people are like. In an Instagram story shared with her 2 million followers, the Jewish comedian. Is that important to the story? I guess kind of. Ooh, that is a journalism question right there. The Jewish comedian. This is about her statement on it is important. That is okay. That is absolutely. That's important to the story. Many are saying, here's what she says. All right. In an Instagram story shared with her 2 million followers, the Jewish comedian reposted a statement by user Elian Eitz. So this isn't even her writing it. It's just her forwarding, this her reposting. So this, you can't even say that these are her thoughts. You just say that this is something someone said and she went, okay. And then endorsed it by reposting. I guess that would be the most obvious thing that she endorsed it. All right, so here's what she reposted and what she's in trouble for. She didn't say this. Again, this is just what she reposted and what Sarah Silverman is in trouble for. Many are saying that it's inhumane that many are saying that it's inhumane that Israel is cutting off water and electricity to Gaza. The Post reads, Israel made it pretty simple. Release the hostages and we'll turn it back on. Instead of pleading with Hamas to release civilian hostages, which includes babies and toddlers, there are politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez calling Israel inhumane. If that isn't enough for you, Israel does not need to supply Gaza with these resources, which they do for free. If Hamas didn't spend billions of dollars on terrorism, they would be able to build the infrastructure to support their citizens themselves. So that's what she put out there. And people are very mad. The Post caused uproar online with users calling the 52-year-old a genocidal maniac. She forwarded something. She's a genocidal maniac. Wow. You are really doing a disservice to all the hardworking genocidal maniacs out there who put in the sweat equity. We've officially reached the they actually don't deserve water and electricity moment in this conversation, commented another. Oh, you're so witty. That's so cute. Let's talk about what was posted that was so horrible. It is true. It is very true that Israel provides electricity and water to the Gaza Strip. It is also true that this wasn't supposed to be a permanent thing, but it just sort of has turned into a permanent thing because you see, Israel can't shut off their free water and their free electricity to Gaza because prior to the events of a couple of weeks ago, if they had done that after 10 years, they'd have been called inhumane and have been a humanitarian crisis and look how bad Israel. So Israel was just like, fine. So here's why. Why are they doing that? Here's why they're doing it. Because when the elections occurred in the Gaza Strip to allow them sort of autonomy, there was an election between the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. Now, this wasn't Israel allowed, go ahead and govern themselves, right? Gaza was going to be governed, free and fair elections, the people of Gaza, and their choice was Hamas or the Palestinian Authority. Palestinian Authority, they're the more governing legislative sort of political body, the diplomatic body, right? Those are the ones that are recognized on the world stage. They're the ones over in the West Bank. They're running District 1 in the West Bank and half of District 2 in the West Bank. They've got their shit together. But Hamas won the election, you see. So the Palestinian Authority left and all of their plans of infrastructure and all that was all left to Hamas to handle. It has been like 15 years. Hamas has never held another round of elections because they won the election that sent the Palestinian Authority packing, and they're just in charge. They just stopped with the election. There hadn't been an election since. Here's also what Hamas hasn't done. They haven't done one thing to do the promised infrastructure. So when these world-changing agreements were made that would allow the Palestinians to govern themselves in Gaza, when these things came about, when the whole world got together at the UN and they said, oh, good, we've got an agreement. This is a great thing. This is going to happen. Israel was asked to provide electricity and water to Gaza until they got their shit together and built their infrastructure. That's so, and Israel was like, you know what? That's fine. We're going to be team players on this. That's fine. We're going to give it to them. It's been like 15 years. They haven't done anything. They're still just taking the power and water from Israel, and Israel can't cut it off. Because if they cut it off, you'll have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going, why did they cut off the water? See, but now we've had these events of the last 2 weeks. Now they got a reason to cut it off. And I got to tell you, I completely agree with what this person said. It's what Israel said. Give us back our hostages and we'll turn the water and the electricity back on. Give them back the hostages. They'll go back to providing you with electricity and water while they blow and hunt Hamas out of every little mole hole in Gaza. Because that's coming too, folks. That's the reality of the situation. Boots on the ground and tanks. It's going to suck in Gaza no matter what. But give them the hostages and they'll turn the water and stuff back on. That doesn't sound barbaric to me. You know what sounds barbaric to me? Murdering an 80-year-old American-Israeli citizen right on the side of the road with her 13-year-old granddaughter. That sounds barbaric to me. Not saying, give us our hostages and we'll give you water and electricity. That sounds obvious. So Sarah Silverman is being, hammered by certain people because she agrees with that. And you know what? I agree with it too. So there you go. So here's the one time that Sarah Silverman was trending and I went, oh God, what'd she do? And I turned out to agree with her. Yeah, Adam says her sister is a rabbi in Israel. Yeah, her sister used to also be on her show. Her sister was an actress. And the other show that her sister was on that she was so good in is The Comeback. What is her sister's name? It's not Sarah Silverman because that's the one we're talking about. Lisa Kudrow, Adam. I don't know if you're... Lisa Kudrow had a sitcom called The Comeback. And it was on for like one season in 2005 and nobody watched it. It was an HBO show. Nobody watched it. And then over the course of like 10 years, people were like, you know what show was really fucking great? You remember The Comeback? Oh, that was so great. And everybody who created it went on to be like Oscar winners and all that. So like 15 years after the first season, Lisa Kudrow made a season 2 of The Comeback. And it was great. It was awesome. By the way, that's a sleeper, you guys. You want to see a really funny show? Watch. I think it's either HBO or Showtime, but I think it's HBO. Lisa Kudrow's The Comeback. And it's not like Lisa Kudrow. She plays a former 70s TV star bimbo, and it's now the 2000s. And she's married to a normie. She's got money, but she's still kind of famous sometimes. She's like maybe People Magazine famous, where like there's a picture of her with a recipe, whatever. She used to be famous. And she's given an opportunity to have a comeback by starring in her own reality show, like the Osbournes. And that's what the show's about. It's called The Comeback. It's about her using this reality show to sort of try and become famous again. She's like a Suzanne Summers type. That's really what I would describe her as. She was kind of like a Suzanne, except imagine if Suzanne Summers didn't have the, Thigh Master, right? That never happened. And Suzanne Summers was just a girl from the 70s who was on TV. That's kind of the character that Lisa Kudrow plays in The Comeback. It's great. Sarah Silverman's sister plays the director of the situation comedy. She's very funny. She's very funny. She's funny in it. Boy. Okay, there you go. I kind of like that about me. See, I'm Catholic, so I come from a background where our religious officers, if you will, priests, nuns, there's a real commitment there to like only be that. Like Catholic priest, that's it. You're a priest, so you are nothing else. You're just a priest. I kind of admire that about rabbis. Rabbis can be anything. Rabbis can have wives. Rabbis can be divorced. Rabbis can have movie careers. Who was a rabbi? I just learned that somebody was a rabbi like their whole life, but they never went with like Jackie Mason. Remember the comedian Jackie Mason? Dude was a rabbi. And he's just a rabbi. He's also Jackie Mason and a rabbi. You couldn't do that with the Catholic religion. You couldn't be like a priest. He's a priest and Robert Mitchum. It just doesn't work. I don't know why I chose Robert Mitchum. I just went with an old-timey guy. Vandersloot. Vandersloot. Johan Vandersloot. Of course, we know him. He's the guy that... until very recently, we just knew him as the feller who disappeared Natalie Holloway, that beautiful little Alabama girl. I think she was like 18, 19 years old, graduated high school, went on her senior trip down there to Aruba, went to a Carlos and Charlie's, got her humorously large margarita with long straw drink on, met a nice boy, an attractive boy, and she was a little bit buzzed. So why not? I'll take it. Isn't this? I'm 19 years old. My whole life is in front of me. I am in this magical, magical place here in Aruba. I've just had the time of my life at Carlos and Charlie's. Did you see the size of that drink? It was a fishbowl. And now I have met this handsome, dreamy boy, and I'm going to go take a romantic walk on this beautiful Caribbean beach with him. That was it. That's what she did. That's how it happened. And he killed her. Now, we didn't know that he killed her. She just disappeared, and we all thought that he killed her for like 20 years. And then Johan van der Sloot became like an international criminal. He went to Southeast Asia where he got involved in the sex slave ring. He ran afoul of them and had to go on the move to Peru. He ended up in Peru, needed money, so he stalked out a casino, noticed a girl that was winning. This is Joran van der Sloot, the guy who didn't kill Natalie Holloway. So he's in Peru and he's staking out this casino and he sees a girl winning a lot of money. And after, he sees her winning a lot of money, he targets her and he hits on her and he starts flirting on her and they get drunk together and she goes back to his hotel room with him and he murders her. And he just takes all of her money because he just needed a little bit of, go money. And she seemed to have thousands and thousands of dollars from a big night in the casino. Well, he murders her and he takes her money and he goes on the run there in Peru. Now, remember, he's already persona non grata in Aruba because of the whole Natalie Holloway thing. The United States of America thinks he's a murderer who has gone uncharged. So he's kind of got OJ status here. Down there in Southeast Asia, the authorities are looking for him because of his involvement in a sex slave ring. So he's found himself, Johan van der Sloot, that is, in Peru, needing a little cash. So he murders a girl he sees in a casino. Here's the problem. That girl was the daughter of like one of the most powerful men in Peru. So within hours of the body being discovered, there was an intelligence net dropped over Peru. Like they caught him. They caught him very easily. He F around and find out he targeted the wrong girl. He basically targeted Ivanka Trump, right? Like the Peruvian version of Ivanka Trump. You don't think we'd find her murderer within like a couple of days? That's what happened down there. So he's in prison. He's facing a life sentence, or not facing a life sentence. He's serving a life sentence in Peru. And over the course of the years since, he's begun working some angles. And he has reached out to Beth Holloway, the mother of Natalie Holloway, the girl who went missing when all of this Johan van der Sloot story began. And he had a little shakedown scheme in mind. He was going to offer the mother of Natalie Holloway some peace. He's going to give her some closure. He's going to tell her where her baby is, how her baby died, all that stuff. All he needed, $250K. That's right, $250,000. He's on the phone. He's talking to Beth Holiday, and she's like, I don't know. I got to figure this out. So, of course, because Beth Holiday is no idiot, and Johan van der Sloot certainly is, she calls the FBI. So the next time she calls him back in prison, the FBI is now recording, and she's like, okay, let's do this deal. And they make an agreement. And that, of course, is, a shakedown, blackmail. That's illegal. And he's seemingly admitting to a capital crime, a murder that has no statute of limitations. So the FBI is very interested in that. So he was charged on that. He was brought to a courtroom here in America. He was put on trial, and boom, he is guilty. Johan van der Sloot. But more importantly, he's already guilty. He's never getting out of jail. I mean, he's doing life in Peru. He's going to be remanded back to Peru after maybe he's even back there now. But he was given like an additional 30 years here in America, and they're going to run concurrently. But he's got to go to Peru first, so he's going to live that out. He'll be moved. He might like if he does 30 years to life or something in Peru, he'll survive. He might be 60 something years old when he gets out, but then he'll come to an American prison as an old man, and then he'll do another 30 years there. So whatever. But we have his confession. He, for the first time, talked about what exactly happened with Natalie Holloway. Now, I was fascinated by this story. I followed this story very closely. So this was really interesting to me, and we're going to play it right here. In his own words, this is Johan van der Sloot, and he's talking about, well, he's answering all the questions that we all had about what happened. Did he kill her? How did he kill her? What happened? So let's give this a look. Johan van der Sloot, his confession. Whoop, here we go. Okay.
a little bit further away from her hotel.
All right, here we go. This is from yesterday, his
Plus,
confession.
she asked to go back to her hotel, but I was just trying to get dropped off a little bit further away from her hotel, so we could walk back to her hotel, and I might still get a chance to be with her.
Okay.
That's what I was hoping for.
Okay. So what happens?
Yeah, Deepak drops me off at a place a little right of the Marriott hotel known as the Fisherman's Huts. This place is not so far from, the next hotel is the Marriott, and the next hotel after that is another Marriott, which is a timeshare, and then it's the Holiday Inn. Well, we walk along the beach.
All right. Do Deepak and Satish get out? Come with you? What happens to them?
Deepak and Satish leave. They leave. They go back to their home. I assume they go back to their home. They get in their car and they leave. I'm actually with Natalie walking along the beach. I find a space before we get to the Marriott hotel, where I lay her down. We lay down together in the sand, and we start kissing each other. I get her to kiss me again. We start kissing each other, and I start feeling her up again. And she tells me no. She tells me she doesn't want me to feel her up. I insist. I keep feeling her up either way. And she knees me. She ends up kneeing me in the crotch. When she knees me in the crotch, I get up.
Okay, so are we following? So he's just trying to bang her. He's just admitting. I'm just trying to bang her. Hey, and that's what guys are like at that age. He's just trying to bang her. He's not thinking too much of it, and he's going pretty hard. She's saying no. He's going up under the shirt, over the shirt. He's doing all those things. She's saying no. He's not giving up. No means, keep trying to him. And in the midst of this, she knees him in the crotch. So she does what her daddy taught her, what every little girl is taught. He's getting a little bit too handsy. Boom, she pops him right in the crotch. Okay, so that's where we are in the story. He's just been assaulted. Here we go.
Crotch. I start feeling her up again, and she tells me no. She tells me she doesn't want me to feel her up. I insist. I keep feeling her up either way. And she knees me. She ends up kneeing me in the crotch. When she knees me in the crotch, I get up on the beach and I kick her extremely hard in the face.
Kicked her extremely hard in the face. Kicked her in the face.
Yeah.
Because he got kneed in the balls. I think, right? I mean, 99% of other men, you get kneed in the balls, and that's a pretty clear indication that it's over. Not him. He's going to kick her in the face.
She's laying down unconscious, possibly even dead, but definitely unconscious. And I see right next to her, there's a huge cinder block laying on the beach.
When you say cinder block, looking at the walls of this place, is it like those?
The exact same cinder blocks. I see a huge cinder block laying on the beach. I take this and I smash her head in with it completely. Her face basically, collapses in. Even though it's dark, I can see her face is collapsed in. Afterwards, I don't exactly know what. I'm scared. I don't know what to do, and I decide to take her and to put her into the ocean. So I grab her and I half pull and half walk with her into the ocean. I push her off. I walk up to about my knees into the ocean, and I push her off into into the sea. And yeah, after that I get out, I walk home.
All right, he walked home and just went to bed like nothing ever happened. Johan van der Sloot. I don't believe any of that. I just want to be clear. I don't believe any of that. He's making deals and he got to come up with a story. So he came up with the story. The mother wanted closure. Everyone thinks he did it. Whatever. That's not what happened there. I'm telling you what I hear. Let me. I'm gonna tell you what I think happened, but I'm looking for the proof. Where is it? I'm looking for the part about. Here's what I think happened. I talked about it last night. I think that he was involved in some kind of a sex slave trade. I think that he may have been a male honeypot, and his job was to lure beautiful tourist drunk girls who are throwing caution to the wind because Stella's getting her groove back. And I think that in the international sex slave trade, pretty young Western girls are probably quite. Now, why do you think, Pugs, that's so dark? Why are you going there? I'm going there because his next move after leaving Aruba was to go to Southeast Asia and begin an association with known sex slave traffickers, who he then got on the wrong side of, causing the authorities there. I don't know if it's Vietnam or Cambodia or Thailand, wherever it was, but it caused the authorities there to start looking for him because of these sex slave things. And he ran to Peru. That's why. So he's telling a story about, it was just innocent. It was a crime of passion. I'm just a guy. We were making out. This dude is a world traveler who knew to go from Aruba to wherever it was in Southeast Asia to Peru. He's bouncing around. Come on, man. This isn't just some guy who met a chick in a bar and couldn't get laid, got pissed and killed her by accident. That's not what this is. Why was his first move after leaving Aruba to go and hook up with a bunch of sex slave traders? He had to have had connections. And that's what I think is going on with Natalie Holloway. I think that there's a chance she could still be alive. Although, there's also a chance that she was killed during some of, what she was used for. But there you have it. That's why it's trending. That is the Johan van der Sloot. How do you do, like, if the average teenager in, let's say, Frisco, Texas, he accidentally kills a girl, right? He loses his shit. He's a dick. He's a dick guy, and he kills her by strangling her to death. The average kid in Frisco, when he decides to hightail it out of town, is that average kid in Frisco just going to hook up with some international sex slave traders? No, because he probably has no connection. How did that connection get made? That's what just has been bothering me about this story for years. There's more. That's this story that he told, yes, is terrible, but it's the story we all expected. So what's he doing here? He's just giving people what they want. It's what they expect. They don't think she's dead anyway. And besides, you probably don't want to talk about the sex slave thing because he doesn't want to die in prison. And I'm sure that that's the kind of thing that could come back and get him whacked in prison by going, oh no, it's a Southeast Asian white slavery ring that I was working with. He ain't going to say that ever because they know where he is. In a Peruvian prison for the next 30 years and in an American prison. So this story, do with it what you will. I take it very, and it's not because I'm cynical. It's not because, and it's also, as you may have deduced over the years, it's not because that I'm some conspiracy theory guy. I'm not. It's just there is one specific fact in this case that leads me to think, wait, hold on. Wait, we're not just going to gloss over the fact that he suddenly found himself with a legal passport living and working in Vietnam. Huh? What? And let's go back to that. How did that happen? Where did he go? Why didn't he go to London? Why didn't he go? He was from, his family was from Belgium or something, like they're Dutch. Why didn't he go there? Why did he go to South? Who did he know in Vietnam that worked with? So Ken Griffin, who is a billionaire hedge fund operator, he's building the world's most expensive home right there in Florida. It's going to be $1 billion. He's a D-bag. He's a terrible guy. He is a super rich hedge fund guy. Now, Pugs, I don't like rich guys anyway, but I do admire rich guys who did something. I have a lot of admiration for rich guys who build things. I have a lot of admiration. Look, I don't put people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. I mean, these guys created something that did something different. You know who I hate? Hedge funds guys. Those guys contribute absolutely nothing. And that's what Ken Griffin is. Ken Griffin is building a $1 billion house. Why? Because he wants everybody to go, look at my $1 billion house. What does that say? That says he's a man who's got all kinds of broken shit going on inside, and he needs the world to recognize him as the man who owns the world's largest house. It's important to him, and he's doing it. It's $1 billion. It's probably not the worst thing that you can have as far as a mental deficiency, but it's definitely there. Vape pens in Texas. How about this? Here's an interesting story. We've talked about this. So here in Texas, you know, I've been telling you, I couldn't believe it. And, you know, it's what it's slow creep of the legalization process of marijuana. So weed is legal in Texas. You want to get high. If you like getting high, if you know, a guy used to roll a joint and smoke it while you watch TV at night because you like that feeling, but it's always been illegal. Nah, it's not illegal anymore. You can still do that and you can still get that. It's just a little bit, and not even different. Like, it's not different. It's not, that's the thing. Oh, so it's not as good? No, it is. Shut up. Just go with me on this. Hemp is legal. And scientists and, you know, the hemp people, they have figured out a way to take the little amount of THC that's in a little hemp flower and mix it with all the other little amounts of THC that's in all the other hemp flowers and create a concentrate that's going to put you on your ass for a week. Okay, so stop with the, I'm not going to buy legal bad weed. Fuck you, dummy. It ain't legal bad weed. It's great weed. As a matter of fact, the best edible I ever had, I'll show you what the best edibles I've ever had are. There are these hemp D9, D10, D11. Let me show you these things. Hold on, I'm going to show you these things. You're an idiot. I ain't buying cheap weed. Dude, it's fucking science. It's real weed. It's the same thing. It's just legal because they found a loophole. Look at this. This stuff. 100% legal. In the great state of Texas. Yeah. Let me show you this stuff. It's not an endorsement for it because, you know, we don't have any sponsors on the show. I want to show you what we're talking about here before we delve into the next story. Here, the stuff right here. By the way, thank you, Byron. Byron cleared it up for me. Sarah Silverman has more than one sister. Laura Silverman is the actress that I like. That's not the rabbi. This stuff right here. Let me show you this. All right. So this is 5,000 milligrams, knockout sour belts. Caution, these fuck. Yes, they do. These are electric lemonade shockwave. There's 10 pieces. Here's what they look like. It's just edibles. These are, man, it's 10 o'clock at night, and you know what? I don't want to get out of bed. I'm just going to stay in bed, and I'm going to watch movies, and I'm going to fall asleep by, well, with these, 10:45. I haven't, you can tell, I don't use them a lot. They're all stuck together. They've all, cause you know, you put them in the bag, but that's what they are. They're just like little gummy worms. You just eat one and then it knocks you on your ass. Anyway, this is completely legal in the state of Texas because the intoxicant, the THC, which is the psychoactive ingredient that gets you high, because the THC that's in here simply didn't come from a flower we call marijuana, but came from a flower we call hemp. They're the cousins. They're the exact same thing. THC is THC. THC that comes from marijuana is illegal in the United States. THC that's derived from hemp, completely legal. So we are now at an era where you know, anyone, 21, you got to be 21. It's just like beer. Anyone can walk into any number of vape stores and go, I want to get freaking toasted, man. I want to be ripped. And one of the ways, one of the more popular ways that it's taken on is with the vapes, the weed pens. You hear this? A kid got busted with a weed pen. Well, this is going to be happening more. These are the little vapes. You see the kids vaping all the time. These are the little vapes, and inside of the juice, it's THC. It's weed vape. You get high. You're getting high. You're vaping, and you're getting high. And you're not creating any smoke. And you're not creating any smell. You remember that? Wasn't that always the thing about marijuana? Somebody 2 garages down is smoking a joint and you're going to smell it for the next 3 hours. Somebody's smoking, not with this stuff, not with the new way weed is. You can't smell it. Your 15-year-old is getting blazed in his bedroom. Parents are shit out of luck now. There ain't no way. You'll never know it. You never know it. Anyway, so that's a problem. So you can walk in any number of these stores. And because people are not responsible, and that's what this story is about. Look, last night on the Radio Misfits show, James and I got into a debate. James is a libertarian, and he believes across the board, without any wiggle room or nuance, that all drugs should be legal. That's a very hard line stance, and it's, shocking to people, but he believes it, and he's been consistent with that. He's not just trying to freak you out. James has had that point of view the entire time I've known him, a good 20 years. So that's his position. And when we got into it a little bit back and forth about, fentanyl and part of the debate that we got into came down to the responsibility of the proprietor, who is now allowed to just sell fentanyl over the counter. And he's like, well, they'll require an ID. It'll be like beer. To which I said, fentanyl is a deadly drug that we can't have being left to the discretion of Cooter, who runs the night register at the beer store, right? It's a little bit, there's a risk involved here. Well, people should have liberty to take. Okay, that's fine. I'm not a nanny state guy, but I don't think you should be able to buy fentanyl. We are seeing this exact same thing with the vape pens, and that's what this story is about. Why? Because teenagers are walking into vape stores that require you to be 21 to buy the THC vape or to buy the Delta 9s and the Delta 11s, and they're just selling them to them. Why? Because they're selling them. This is the argument I was having with James last night. He's like, they won't just sell fentanyl to anybody. I'm like, yeah, they will. And no, you're right. The responsible ones, the good business, the above board practice people, they'll do it the right way. But you really think that everyone will? And you don't think that the end result of that is going to be way more fentanyl everywhere because the access is so much easier? So that was the debate we had. Now comes this story today about vape pens and the way Texas high schools are dealing with these legal. Now, don't get it twisted too. It is legal. It is legal for it to be a thing that was sold in the store. However, it is illegal for anyone under 21 to have it. This is like, so when I'm talking about the kids being found with vape pens, just think of it like kids being found with a bottle of Jack Daniels in their locker, because that's what it is. It's not an illegal product in the state of Texas. So there's no it's a bunch of Coke. No, it's not that. So it's legal, but it's illegal for him to possess, for this child to possess, or for these kids to possess. Texas high schoolers are being jailed on felony charges for vaping. Police often can't tell if a cannabis vape pen is derived from marijuana or legal hemp. All right, now I push back on this. Police often can't tell. Bitch, police can't ever tell. That's the thing. It's indistinguishable without a lab test. So cops cannot tell. Let's stop, because they're going out on a limb and they're going, well, I believe that is illegal marijuana. That's what this story is doing. It's saying, well, sometimes the cops, they're right. They think, no, there is no way that the cop could be right without some sort of a chemistry test to determine where the origins of this is, because one strand of THC cannabis is illegal, marijuana derived. The other, hemp, totally legal. And there's no way that a cop on the scene, so cops are arresting kids, they're erring on the side of it's probably illegal. Kids, they're arrested kids. I mean, maybe if they bail right out and it's not a permanent thing, that's good, because I'm all for scaring kids straight and whatnot, but this is not cool. This seems like cops just being dicks. It's legal, dude. Deal with it. Look, Officer Friendly, I know you spent the last 25 years of your policing life being Mr. Don't Say No and busting kids for having joints, but the legislature sold you out. All your years of hard work are now down the toilet because all of that shit is now legal. And I know you still want to bust that skateboarder down there at the skate park with that vape pen, but it's legal. Unless he's not 21. Then you can bust him with that, lesser charge. But you don't want that. You want a drug charge. So that's what they're doing. When kids walk into the gas station near the high school in this rural stretch of North San Antonio, this is Spring Branch, Texas, they come face to face with Texas's booming market in the psychoactive hemp derivatives market. Just inside the door, a glass cabinet entices shoppers to a smorgasbord of fruity and donut-flavored vape pens dressed in vibrant, skinny packaging. The store, like many across Texas, is promoting its collection of Delta 8 and other new strains of purportedly legal tetrahydrocannabinol, THC. See, this story, this purportedly legal. It's legal at the federal level and codified at the state level. What do you mean purportedly legal? Hemp-derived THC is 100% legal everywhere in the United States of America, thanks to Trump's 2019 Hemp Act. Okay? Yeah, they snuck it through. The slow creep. Nobody even knew it until now. That's the slow creep. And then it was codified. Governor Abbott here in Texas passed the Texas Agriculture Bill. I think that was in 2020. So not only do you have this federal law that if you didn't like it at the state level, you could challenge and have a whole thing. Well, we don't recognize that federal law. No, the federal law in this case has been codified here at the state level. So it's not purportedly legal, journalist who's writing this. It is 100% legal. And if you got a problem with it, well, then vote somebody else, because as we like to say mockingly around here, elections have consequences. Let's see here. Any adult over the age of 21 in the state of Texas can buy the vapes at this Valero. But if the Como Independent School District catches one of its students down the road at Smithson Valley High School with a pound cake flavored vape, they may end up in county jail facing felony charges that would follow them the rest of their life. But again, of course, I mean, are they getting arrested? Look, if a kid's got a vape, if a kid's got a weed vape, if he's a 17-year-old junior in high school or whatever, he's got a weed vape, yeah, he should be in trouble. That's like I said, it's like him having a bottle of Jack Daniels. Kids can't have that. They're not 21. The story is kind of blurring it like, this is like it's part of a drug cartel or something. No, it's legal. Again, it's legal. This is a minor hand slap. Underage drinker got caught with a beer. That's what this is. Follow you around for the rest of your life? School officials and law enforcement are attempting to stymie the sometimes dangerous youth vaping craze by drawing a hard line. Students are offered $100 to anonymously report classmates with THC vape pens to the police. This is in Texas. That should fucking buckle your knees. Government authorities in San Antonio are enticing high school students to rat on their friends over a law that's legal, over something that is, think about that. That's fucking ugly. The Nazis did that. The Nazis paid people to rat on Jews. Holy fuck. I'm sorry to use expletives, but wow. Since sheriff deputies assigned to the schools often can't tell if a vape pen contains THC, and they can't tell, okay. And since sheriff deputies assigned to the schools often can tell if a vape pen contains THC, but not whether it's Delta 8 or illegal Delta 9, they assume the worst, slap on the cuffs, and leave it for someone else to figure out. That's because, we're just lazy cops. We're going to ruin this guy. We're going to put it in the computer. His name's going to be on file. He's having a traumatic day. He may never be arrested again, but he's doing it now. And, it's just because I'm just going to let other people figure it out. Whatever, not my problem. Go to jail, kid. Oh, you're losing your scholarship? Fuck you. Thoughtless bullshit assholes out there. That's an asshole attitude. I'm just going to slap the cuffs on. Let everybody else worry about it. Fuck you. And by the way, here's the other thing. It says here, although officers can tell when it's illegal THC and not just regular vape. No, they can't. No, they can't. Again, whoever's writing this story is carrying water for the man in this situation. Don't get it twisted. I don't think high school kids should be buying illegal vapes. I'm just getting angry that now we've got authorities who are starting to realize that these drugs were made legal and they weren't paying attention. And now they're pissed. And now they're like, wait a second, we got to do something about it. Well, let's just arrest them and let somebody else figure it out. No, Know the fucking law. You're a cop. Know the law. If they're under 21, then yeah, it's underage possession. But it ain't like illegal drug smuggling or dealing or whatever it is you're trying to pin on these kids. Underage possession is stupid. It's like being caught with it's like being caught with a beer at the beach when you're 19. It's dumb. People survive that shit all the time. That's not a death sentence. But a drug charge is. And to even have a whiff of a drug, when Texas legalized hemp back in 2019, THC naturally found in small amounts in the cannabis plant, Delta 8, was suddenly no longer fit the state's definition of illegal marijuana. Okay, so because remember, so it says right here, when Texas legalized hemp in 2019, so when hemp was legalized in 2019, and here's the important part of the legalization law, hemp is legalized and all hemp-derived products are legalized. That means that the THC that is inside of hemp can be taken out, and suddenly you've derived a whole new thing, and that's totally legal, and that's what's happening. When Texas legalized hemp in 2019, the lower potency THC naturally found in cannabis plant, Delta 8, which is what that's known, suddenly no longer fit the state's definition of illegal marijuana and THC. The market capitalized on the notion of a legal strain of THC, and companies began boosting the concentration of Delta 8 to make hemp-derived vape pens and edibles that produce highs similar and oftentimes exceeding that of organic marijuana. So don't give me this, it's weaker weed. Fuck you. It's going to knock you on your ass, dummy. But it's legal. That's what I don't get. It's legal. It's totally legal. This is it's stupid. And we're now figuring out ways to ruin kids' lives over something that the cops at the local level had no idea was legal and is now just going, just going to arrest them and then, we'll worry about it. No, how about you know the law and don't arrest people for things that are completely illegal? How about we start there? Wouldn't that be a good way? Dumbass cops. I hate dumbass cops. I'm so hard on cops. But, I come from a cop family. I'm big back to blue. I have a long line of cops in my family. My mom, Illinois State Police, 20 plus years. Very proud. We back to blue. Not idiots. That's an idiot cop. That is an idiot cop. Well, I'm just going to arrest them. Let everybody else worry about it. Idiot cop. Turn in your badge, fucknut. Let's see. There's a dead elephant at the St. Louis Zoo. Yeah, an elephant died. Now, yeah, Rob's like, you defending weed in schools? No, I'm not defending weed in schools. That's a very complicated story there. I said over and over again that it's a possession charge. It's like underage drinking. It's not that big of a deal. Shouldn't be a drug charge. And these cops are filing drug charges because they're just, what if it is illegal? Those cops are going to get in trouble when the county starts getting on their ass about how many lab tests are we going to have to pay for with you and these bullshit fucking busts that all turn out to be legal? Because that's what they have to do. They go to court. They got to take that shit through a lab. And guess what? The county who's prosecuting the case, they got to pay them lab costs. Pretty soon you're going to be processing lab costs on vape pens 100 at a time because a bunch of small town cops are confused as to what is actually their job. But no, I'm not saying that kids in high school should smoke weed. Although, told my son a million times his whole life, talked to him about that. We have open conversations about this stuff. Far rather my son smoke marijuana in high school than be a beer guy or a wine guy or, God forbid, a whiskey or tequila guy. You want to know why? Because whiskey, tequila, bar guys, keg stands, let's go to the party, let's get nuts. Those guys get into fights, and I get woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go bail my dumbass kid out because he's drunk and fighting. Dudes who smoke weed, they sit on couches, they learn to play guitar, they talk with chicks. That's what I want. So yes. So if you're telling me, am I saying that kids in high school, they should smoke weed? Well, if the choice is weed or alcohol, yes, let's get them all weed because, man, a bunch of stone people are a really nice crowd of people. There's no fast movements. The music is always really chill and relaxed. People are laughing. People are smiling. People who are drunk are looking to break things. So yeah, I would much rather have my teenager. And by the way, you don't want your teenager indulging in any intoxicants. But we live in the world, and we're not idiots, and we know that they're exposed to things and peer pressure, and they end up having a drink here or doing this there, whatever it is. We have to allow for it. It's gonna happen. Just have it be weed. Just have it be weed. Don't drink alcohol. Oh, I have demonized alcohol to him. He has never. My son has seen me have a couple of beers. Like we're Irish. We understand. Like alcohol is a part of our culture, and it's you do a shot and all that kind of stuff. So, like he's seen me do that. He's never seen me drunk. I'm so proud of that, and I call my kid out on that all the time. Ever seen your old man drunk? He's like, nope, I've never seen him drunk. Because he's seen all the other adults that he loves in his life drunk. He's seen, his mom, none of them are alcoholics, of course, but they're normal people. He's never seen me drunk. And here's why he's never seen me drunk. All right, so I'll be a little bit. I grew up in a family with a bunch of alcoholics. Not my mom. My mom wasn't. My mom was, well, basically perfect. No, my mom wasn't. But all the other adults in my family were alcoholics. And I spent a lot of time being raised by a single mom with these other adults. So I guess the worst thing that you can say about my mom is that she left me alone with drunk people all the time. And they were drunk people. They were drunk people. I love them dearly. My grandmother and grandfather, but they were drunk people. They were alcoholics. They drank constantly. My grandmother drank like a bottle of gin every 2 days. And my grandfather, don't even get me started on that. Now, they were highly functioning alcoholics. They weren't, it didn't really affect their lives. They put 3 kids through college, and if you count me, 4. They were successful business operator, but they were functioning alcoholics. If they were not working or, participating in something. No, even when they were participating in community events, they were shit-faced. So I saw a lot as a little kid. Saw a lot of people who I love unconditionally and dearly, not at their best, So I remembered that. And I always remembered that with my kids. So when I was very little, I made a pledge. I was like, you're never going to see me drunk. Now, he will see me drunk like 18. Like I'm starting to think there's going to come a time where I'm going to want to get drunk with him, so that's going to have to happen. But yeah, he's never seen me drunk. He's seen me high. He didn't know it, but he's seen me high. He doesn't know. But, and that kind of gets me back to my point, right? He'd have noticed if I was drunk, but he has never noticed when I've been high. Because it's not the same kind of intoxicant. World's richest list is out. This is fun. We always love this. Who's the world's richest man? Well, it is currently, and I say this not like, it's a foregone conclusion. It is currently Elon Musk. He's back atop the world's richest man. If you remember, Elon Musk lost his spot as the world's richest man a few months back to Bernard Arnault. Bernard Arnault. Oh my God. Do you know who this guy is? He was the richest man in the world and he's always like the second richest man in the world. Do you know what this guy does? This guy's become the richest man in the world selling, creating, and marketing products that you and I have no idea what it is. This is a luxury brand billionaire. Bernard Arnault has lost his spot. In the latest round, the former world's richest where did I lost my spot? As a sell-off in luxury stocks pushed his net worth below that of Amazon Inc.'s Jeff Bezos. Okay, he's dropped from 3. He dropped from 1. He was 1, Bernard Arnault. Then he dropped to 2, and then he's dropped to 3 now. So in this latest World's Richest Man released by Bloomberg today, Bernard Arnault has been passed by Elon Musk, who is now number 1, and Jeff Bezos is number 2. Now, who's this Arnault guy? Because I don't know who he is. I know who Bezos is, and I know who Musk is. Arnault is the founder and chief executive officer of LVMH, the French luxury powerhouse that includes brands such as Louis Vuitton, Moet Chandon. That's it. That's it. His wealth has fallen by 6.8 billion since Wednesday. Since Wednesday. It's Thursday. Since Wednesday. Yeah, $6.8 billion he's lost in the last 24, and he's still the third richest man in the world. Arnold is now worth $155.1 billion, which is just a tick below Jeff Bezos' $156 billion. Okay, so they're going to be passing each other back and forth. Where's Musk at? Because see, Musk during like at some point, something to do with the Ukraine war, Musk's stocks dropped, and he dropped all the way down to 4 at some point. Fourth richest man in the world. He was number 1 and then dropped all the way down to 4. Where's he at now? Arnault became the richest person on the planet back in late 2022, surpassing Tesla Inc.'s Elon Musk as tech stocks struggled in the face of high inflation. He dropped below Musk again last May, but has never been lower than second until today. So he's number 3. So the Louis Vuitton guy is hemorrhaging money. The hit to Arnault's wealth reflects the sluggish sales plaguing luxury goods this year amid cooling demand from inflation-weary U.S. consumers and rocky economic recoveries in China. Louis Vuitton shares fell more than 10% in Paris. Fuck, all right, never mind. Louis Vuitton. Now I know. Now I get it. So he makes $25 leather handbags and he sells them for $500 million. Oh, there you go. Congratulations, you're a genius. Which one of your ancestors ran into the devil and sold their soul for? Seriously, think about that. You ever seen how expensive these bags are? These are just leather bags. That's all they are. They're just leather bags. At best, there's $20 worth of material there. And then they sell them. I mean, if you're lucky, like, the ones your girlfriend has are like $800-900 bags. It's like my $900, Louis, it's my $900 Coach. That's what you got. You got the 8. But you don't understand. That's not where the ceiling is on those bags. Freaking Birkin bags are $1 million each. This is just leather. So that's how this guy made his money. He just, rich people. That's a beautiful thing, boy. If you can get into the rich people market, because money's not an object. Anytime your customers, money is not an object. That's good. That's good for you. It's good for you. Everybody wants to pay the most for something. Do we have anything else? Guys, I think that might be it. We might be done. We might be out for the count. Yeah, no, we're done. That's it. That's the show for today. Thank you so much for joining me here on the High Noon Report. That's everything that is happening in the world. Tip the show if you can. You want to help us out and give us a little bit of, momentum as we head into the weekend or whatever you want to call it. Our show exists because of your tips. That's right. This is non-traditional talk radio. This is not divisive political talk radio. We don't do lame AM talk. We just talk about the world, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you all for joining us. Drop a little something in the tip jar if you can. There is no Radio Misfits show tonight. Sorry about that. Got football game. My kid's got a game. And then I got my kid this weekend, and it's going to be amazing this weekend. It's going to be, the weather's going to be great. I don't know what we're going to do. Anyway, so yeah. Football game tonight. I live for Thursdays, man. Isn't that weird? Isn't it so strange that, like, I don't have my Bears, and the Cowboys got a bye week, right? So I don't really have anything to look forward to. And I have found myself over these past couple of weeks, and like around Sunday night, I'm like, oh, what time's the game this week? Like, I already start thinking ahead. Like, oh, okay, I plan out my route if it's an away game. This is my son's freshman football game. And I plan out my route, like days before to avoid tolls, because that's a whole other thing. I got to handle a toll situation. Tonight's a home game. Tonight we're going to be out there at Kimbrough Stadium, 7:00. Now, for those of you who've been following the ups and downs of my son's football team this season, you've probably noticed been way more ups. We've had one down. The team is incredibly good. They're a juggernaut. They are currently 6-1. They routinely beat teams 40-0. Their max for the year, I think, is 62-6. They beat a team, and then they lost 45-0. That's right. They were 5-0. They were romping through everybody, and then they lost 45-0. They got punched right in the face. And what did they do? Did they crumble? Did they go, hey, maybe we're not that good? Maybe we need to now go 5-5 the rest of the season, end up barely missing the playoffs after a hot start? No! They came out and they beat their next opponent 38-0. So tonight's the next game. So we'll see what happens tonight. I'm telling you, 2 weeks ago, they got stomped 45-0. Last week, they won 38-0. Let's see what this week is. Because I'm thinking the 45-0 stomping at the hands of Flower Mound, or was it Farmers Branch? It was Flower Mound. The stomping at the hand that we took it from Flower Mound, maybe there was an anomaly. Maybe that was, you know what that was? That was the 85 Bears losing to the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football before going, okay, we can be beat. Let's actually start kicking people's ass now. Maybe that's what they need. And also, think of it this way, maybe last night is what the Rangers needed. Go, you Rangers! Rangers get into the World Series. I'm going to launch a Ranger World Series postgame, like immediately after the Ranger game. And I would like to invite Adam to be a part of that if he wants to do it. So, because Adam's a big baseball. I want to get people who actually love this team. I just want people who are really into it. And we'll have guests. We'll bring people on to talk Rangers baseball. But that's the plan. I really want to do that if they make it to the series. Best is yet to come. All right, guys, I got to go. Got a lot to do around here before I head off. Wish us luck. The big football game tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Again, no Radio Misfits show tonight. No 9 o'clock stream. Tomorrow we'll be back at 12 p.m. Central Time for more of the High Noon Rant with me, Pugs Moran. Tip the show if you're so inclined. I appreciate you. I love you. Have a great one. Bye-bye. Tom Kimbrough Stadium, Ross.
I am on a never-ending quest.